not many.
Did she tell you what I did? And you can watch it.
Okay. Ready, ladies? Meeting call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Albro?
He just ran to turn off his interior light.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I would have waited for him. He'll be back.
Ms. Dunn?
Here.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Present.
Ms. Coffinger?
Here.
Ms. O'Grady?
Here.
Ms. Ryan?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Vice President Gomez?
Here.
President Andrews?
Here. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Law, Meetings Law, the New Milford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall and the New Milford Public Library. Notices have been sent to the Record and the Twin Borough News. The board announces that under its long-standing policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices are to be turned off. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Due to confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked not to speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. Committee of the Whole, I seek a motion for the approval of the November 16th regular minutes, December 7th special, December 7th special closed, December 7th work, and December 7th work closed. Can I get a second? Seconded by Tammy Kaminsky. Are there any questions or comments on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. I seek a motion to open to the public for items on the agenda. Motion by Heather Gomez, seconded by Joseph Steele. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. As outlined in the New Milford Public Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes. Do we have, yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Little page 136, Clinton Ave. I just had a question about P96. I know that those are newly created positions using the ESSER fund.
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to is it a one-time deal for this year, or is that something that we anticipate moving forward?
Wait till we answer at the end. I don't know if we'll close and then answer at the end.
Choice on that one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, enough. Thank you, Mrs. LePage. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? I seek a motion to close to the public. Motion by Tammy Kaminsky, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Do you want to answer that now?
Yep.
Okay.
So we budgeted for it for this half of this year, second half of this year, and the full year next year. 2 different grants.
Okay, it's also a grant next year?
It's in the budget, yes, within the ESSER.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So at this time, we have a very exciting presentation from Hetty Grant. And is Peggy Norris here tonight?
No, unfortunately, she's unable to come.
Okay. So from Hetty Grant, and it's on the historical landmark.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mrs. Andrews. I appreciate that. It's nice to see all of you again. It's been a while since I last saw you. And I'm delighted to be here. I do want to start off with a disclaimer. I am here as a resident of New Milford, not in my position as a council member. The mayor and council are aware of this project that I've been pursuing for the last few years and are supportive of it. But this has nothing to do with the mayor and council. Just want that clear. I moved to New Jersey in 1983, and it still surprises me that I did because I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, with the true New Yorker's view of the world. It ends at the Hudson River and starts again in California. So I lived in a number of states in the Northeast and ended up here, and I'm really rather glad that I did. I was renting an apartment in a two-family house in Fort Lee, and had decided that I was time to buy a home, and took out the record one Sunday morning, looked in the real estate section, and at the top of a column, I saw an ad for a modernized antique farmhouse. Well, if you know me, that's manna from heaven. I mean, it's perfect. It's just what I would love. And it was actually a price that was in my price range. I had no idea. I'd never heard of New Milford. I had no idea where it was. Clearly, it was in Bergen County. So I called the realtor, and of course, there was no GPS in those days and no cell phones, but I did manage to find the house and loved it. Fell in love with it, immediately purchased it, and I've been in now for 36 years. It is antique in some ways. It's also sort of modern in some other ways. But if you see the house, it's got the original, the red sandstone on the outside is part of it. And in the kitchen, it has the original hand-hewn beams. And it's a very low ceiling in the kitchen, which is not a problem for me. Of course, at the time, I didn't know I was going to have a son who would be almost 6'3". It's a little bit more of a problem for him. However, we managed reasonably well. 2 years after I moved in, I received a letter from Marlene Casey. I still have it, actually. I had it in my archives. Thank goodness for filing cabinets. This is dated December 1st, 1987. She was then the chair of the New Milford Historic Preservation Committee. I don't know when it became a commission, but at that time anyway, it was a committee. And they were talking about creating an ordinance to list historic properties and historic homes in New Milford, and asked me if I'd be interested. At the time, I didn't pursue it, and I don't know if the ordinance ever went forward. But over the years, I know the commission has been interested in doing that or expanding, but I think they actually did it. And we're interested in listing my home. And I was excited about that, and they wanted to do it, they were hoping to do it in time to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the incorporation of New Milford, which is next year. Of course, COVID interfered with everybody's plans, so I don't know what the status of that is. However, a few years ago, I decided I should find out exactly how old my house is. And I first went to the New Milford Public Library, which is a wonderful resource. And I came across a story of New Milford, birthplace of Bergen County, edited by Leon A. Smith, whose widow still lives in New Milford, by the way. She's 98 years old and going strong. It's a fascinating book. If anybody wants to know anything about the history of New Milford, this is a fabulous place to start. It talks about the development of the churches in New Milford. It talks about farms. It talks about the political system, the fire department, the ambulance corps. It has photographs of various events. It's a treasure. It also lists historic homes, including my house, which the book calls the Troutwine House. Now, Troutwine was actually the building inspector in the late 40s and in the 50s. Before that, it was owned by the Lemkes, and it was a farm. And I traced it back relatively, without too much trouble, to the early 1900s. And then it got a little more complicated because the typewriter wasn't invented until the late, I believe, around 1880, 1885, somewhere in there. And it did not become widespread, widely used for a while. So you get to a certain point where all the deeds are handwritten. And as currently, some people have great handwriting, and some people's handwriting is absolutely atrocious. Fortunately, the registry so I began to go to the registry of deeds, and I spent hours, days, weeks there, and tried. I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have these enormous books called grantor-grantee indexes. Grantors being sellers, grantees being buyers. And you can look up names, and it will tell you, if you look up the grantor index, it will tell you to whom the property was sold and vice versa in the grantee books. And it gives you the book and page number for the deed. And then you can look that up. Now, fortunately, all those deeds are online. So it's not as complicated as it used to be. So I got all the information I needed and went back to the computers and tried to figure them out. I printed most of them out and brought them home in order to pour over them because some of them were very difficult to decipher. I'm sure I'm leaving some stuff out as we go along, but I'll try to get back to it. So I was reading, one thing that I was reading, and this is what it looks like. Had extremely poor handwriting. I mean, extremely poor. You have it in your packets, you can see. And I'm pouring over it at home with a bright light and a magnifying glass. And lo and behold, I figured that my property is probably described in the second parcel that's in the deed, which starts out the second lot, a parcel of land with premises, etc., etc. Now, it talks about it lies on the easterly side of the Flats Road. The Flats Road is now what's called Boulevard. And the whole area in this northern section of town is called the Flats, which I think is an absolutely lovely name. And so Peggy and I, in order to make references easier, call this whole area the Flats Wood Lot, and we call the burying ground the Flats Burying Ground. But we'll get there. So, in reading the description of the deed, knowing that my property isn't here somewhere, certainly not the 5-acre property, because I don't, my piece is a little bit of a piece, but it talks about a small brook. And Hirschfeld Brook runs more or less parallel to Boulevard before it takes a turn west to the Hackensack River under the Boulevard Bridge, which is between Main and Shedd. Now, if you stand on that bridge and look east, you'll see a little brook. I call it a tributary. And clearly that goes, you can see that from there, from Boulevard to Sutton Place, where it then goes underground. The southern end, you can actually see it go underground. The northern end, you can't because it stops just west of the tennis courts. So you have the tributary of the Hirschfeld Brook going that direction, east, and then forking. One fork, the northern fork, goes across the northern end of the school property. Okay, so I figured that out, and then I get to the phrase, and I'm only going to repeat it this way once because it's, and I'm going to use it in quotes, because we don't say it that way anymore. It talks about something being easterly of the, quote, old colored burying ground, unquote. Well, I can't tell you how many times I read it to make sure I was reading it correctly. And I thought, wow, this is remarkable. What a finding. I have to pursue this. Is it on my property? Is it near my property? It clearly had to be somewhere in the area. So I began to do some research, and I contacted some folks at Rutgers and at Montclair State and asked for advice and help, and they put me in contact with the amazing historian Peggy Norris, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, as I said. But she knows her way around this sort of thing. She's a genealogist and a historian, and she's got all the computer software you can imagine. And she offered to help. And without her, I wouldn't be standing here today and wouldn't know where the burying ground is. But she did, and here we are. So we, through her software, the only place it could possibly be is on the northern end of the Bertram F. Gibbs school property. It is most like, probably not under the parking lot. It is definitely on the field adjacent to it, just to the east of it. How large it is, we don't know. A group from Rutgers University came up and did ground penetrating radar. They did it just before the pandemic started and everything shut down, and then were not able to analyze it until this past spring. And while they found anomalies, they did not find anything definitive. That's possibly because whatever remains there are, or whatever was buried, is so far down that it can't be discovered. Remember, a lot of landfill was brought in to create the school, build the school. So how deep it is, we'll never know. But there's no doubt that that's exactly where it is. And you have some maps that Peggy drew in your packet, and you also have a map, the last map, which actually shows where the tributary runs, where it courts and where it continues. Now, there was slavery in New Jersey. In fact, New Jersey had more enslaved people than any other northern state. In fact, in Bergen County had more enslaved people than other counties in New Jersey. Shamefully, I will say. On February 15, 1804, New Jersey passed a law providing for the gradual emancipation of enslaved people, gradual. And New Jersey was the last state to actually begin the process of ending slavery. But there were slaves in this state as late as 1866. So, do you have any questions so far? So I think that this is something remarkable for New Milford and certainly for the Board of Education. I would love to see it followed up with a big blue historic plaque there discussing slavery in New Jersey and this particular burying ground. While we have not found any other evidence of it in archives, or as I said, GPS, radar, in those days they used landmarks to describe, indeed, to describe where land and woodin began. And I'm sure they didn't realize or consider the fact that those landmarks not always exist, whether it's the old oak tree by Joe Blow's property or an old burying ground. So the procedure is to file an application with the Bergen County Historical Society for a marker. There is a $200 non-refundable fee that must be submitted with the application. They then, and it's a complicated application, and it will take them quite a while to complete. Then they review it, they may ask for more information. If they approve it, then they will agree to erect a plaque. And the total amount of money that this would cost from beginning to end is less than $3,000. So I think that's probably quite doable. At this point, my involvement must end because it's not on my property, it's on your property. I would be more than happy to work with the Board of Ed in pursuing a plaque for the property. What a great educational tool it is. What a great thing to remember these people who were enslaved. Most likely, I mean, we don't know that all of the people buried here were enslaved, but chances are that certainly many of them were. And they should not be forgotten, in my opinion. So I leave it to the board to decide whether to go forward, and if they want to name somebody who spearheaded, and I will certainly be more than happy to work with them.
Thank you. Can I say? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Brent.
My pleasure.
I think this is really exciting, especially with the 100th anniversary of New Milford approaching, and New Milford has such a huge history with the Newbridge historical landmark and all throughout town. This just adds to it and enriches it. What an exciting discovery. Thank you for bringing it to us.
Thank you for allowing me to present this.
I think I have an understanding, but I just want to clarify for any of the board members or the public who may not. When you said it's on the field, Gibbs has a property where there's a field, but part of it is a baseball field, and then there's like open grassy area. You're referring to the open grassy area, not the actual baseball
It's the area
field.
just to the east of the parking lot.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Heather, did you have a question?
Yes, so in order to get the blue marker, would they have to dig up the field at all
No,
to get more? Okay,
no,
I'm just
no.
wondering that. Okay.
No, absolutely not. No.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
The actual application information is in your packets that you have.
Well, I think, and I do just a comment, which is, thank you for all of this information. I definitely want to read through it. I feel like I'm going to be asking questions that might be in here. But as far as timing and going forward and different things like that, what is your hope or expectation of that?
The sooner the better, in my opinion, but it's certainly up to
Like
you.
how long do things like that generally take?
I think it would probably take months to put the application together because it requires input from others as well. And I'd like to try to go back a little further to see if there's any evidence of anything in deeds, in the early 1800s. I mean, if it was an old burying ground in 1883, I mean, who knows how old it was. Now, I traced my house back further than that, however, further than this burying ground, or the 1883 deed. But it stopped at a certain point, which means that it was probably transferred by will before then. So I have to eventually, at some point, when things are a little calmer, try to track that down and maybe find out some more information. But my house was a J.D. Demarest house. And so, and Demarest family was the earliest family settling in Milford. This came here in the 1670s. So I forget what your question was. I know I'm rambling.
No,
I can
no,
go
that
on
was
and talk
process.
about this for a really long time.
It is
I
on
know.
it is on our agenda
I know,
tonight.
I see that.
No, but in case the board members didn't notice, to vote to approve for her to go forward, so. I was gonna say,
So
let's
then my
make sure we ask all the
second question, and
questions.
maybe this is an internal question and not exactly yours, this says not to exceed 3,000, so where does that 3,000 lie? Is that the board is going to take on the?
Well, it's on
cost?
our property, so it would become our responsibility if the landmark were to be ours. So that's why Ms. Grant presenting tonight, just so that you can
Decide.
understand, ask questions of her while she's here. If the board wants to table it, they can.
I don't have an issue with it, I just feel like I'm still observing
Absolutely,
everything,
yeah.
and I don't know the questions that I would ask, and I don't right now initially think there's an issue, I just.
I'd be more than happy to come back and answer more questions if you have them, or you can always call me. But if you don't decide to pursue this, then I can't pursue it on my own, because it's not mine.
But that not to exceed 3,000 is for the fees that we are paying the county.
Right, if you see.
To get the landmark.
It's listed in the packet I gave you.
Yes.
It's an initial $200 application fee, and there's some other fee, and then the cost of the plaque. And I believe that if the total amount, if they approve it, would be no more than 3,000, probably 28 something.
And then I suppose, does anyone else have any questions or comments? Please ask them, because it's additional.
No, it's more for the board,
Yeah.
not necessarily for Penny, which is, it's fabulous in all of this, and I follow, because I did see when it first came up for you, while you were having that checked, so.
Well, I have a question too, but I'll hold it for that portion, the board action. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
I look forward to hearing some good news.
you. Okay.
You might have to give us the question.
Oh, I'm
It's not-
sorry.
It's not questions.
No,
No,
open to
public.
public,
No.
open to public. Okay, at this point, we have student board representative report, Mackenzie Forte. Good to see you, Mackenzie.
Hello everyone. I hope that everyone is getting super excited for the holidays. The student council is definitely getting excited and has some awesome stuff planned. So firstly, we planned a holiday spirit week for this week. And yesterday was our pajama day. Today was our holiday hat day or accessories. Tomorrow is our color day where our freshmen and juniors will wear red and our sophomores and seniors will green. And Thursday is our ugly sweater day. And so far, we've seen a ton of participants for both days, and it's definitely bringing our student body closer together before a holiday break. And as a part of our Spirit Week, today the Student Council hosted a winter wonderland in the courtyard during lunchtime. So we sold hot chocolate and various baked goods at our bake sale, and we also had a karaoke station set up where the students sang some great holiday songs. And Mr. Devereaux and Miss Ivanovich dominated the Baby It's Cold Outside. Along with karaoke, we also had reindeer ring toss set up and Mr. Minente who dressed up as Santa Claus. And the Winter Wonderland event was organized by Miss Knudsen, Mr. Coyne, and the Student Council. It was a huge success and really brought our student body closer together, and the fundraiser also brought in over $230 for the Student Council. And this week, we've also been selling candy cane grams, so students can purchase a candy cane with a message on it for a friend or a teacher for $1 each. And we're selling them this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And also, I mentioned this at our last November meeting, we plan to sell hot cocoa in the morning before school starts, so students can get hot chocolate as they come in. And we started doing this shortly after the meeting, and we've been selling it every Friday before school and have sold over $50 worth of hot chocolate each week. And so we love celebrating the holiday season, and we wish everybody a happy holiday and a great New Year's.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Mackenzie?
I just want to say, Mackenzie, you make me feel better every
So-
time. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for all the details.
And the Winter Wonderland concert was wonderful. I said that to you before. Thank you, Mackenzie. And as always, you are a student, so you're welcome to stay. or you
I
are
do
welcome.
have a little question for Mackenzie.
Oh, let's
So
ask.
so the auditions happen?
Yes, they happened today. So I was here since 3 today. And I feel that I just stayed because they just finished at like 6:30ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was
nice.
really fun though.
How'd it go?
It was super fun. I really liked it.
Good.
And the musical is?
The musical is The Wedding Singer.
Nice.
Oh.
So,
Happy,
I figured you
uplifting,
would do it.
uplifting,
much
and
needed.
fun.
Yeah.
Great.
Excited, thank you.
Thank you. So yes, you're welcome to stay, but we know you're a student, you have homework. If you'd like to, you're welcome to leave at this point as well. Or anytime. Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, honey.
Happy
Bye-bye.
holidays, everyone.
Have a well, sweetheart. All right, now we have our Superintendent of Schools report, Mrs. Danielle Shanley.
Hi,
You have to follow
everybody.
that.
I can't. I don't even try. That's like you just pack it in. So all of our wonderful concerts for the winter, for the season are behind us, but of course they live on in eternity in YouTube. Because if you go to our YouTube channel, you can watch our concerts. And if you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, you definitely should. And if you go to our Facebook page, if you don't subscribe to our Facebook page, you definitely should. Because all those links, when we have them, like tonight's board meeting, we post on the Facebook page, so nobody can say that we didn't post and they didn't know, right? So you can see all those great concerts if you missed them, or if you didn't get a chance to go because it wasn't your child's school, and you can see them. Okay, so tonight, just some quick business. HIB report. We had 2 HIB investigations at David E. Owens Middle School. Both of the victims were female, both of the aggressors were male. 2 separate cases, one 6th grade, one 8th grade, and both were affirmative. And we had 1 suspension at the middle school, out of school suspension since we last met. Okay. So I think it's important for me to provide you with some important health updates. As we know, there have been dramatic increases in COVID positive cases in the region, in the state, in the nation, and across the ocean, but definitely in New Milford. And lots of close contact quarantines of non-vaccinated students, and it's all taken its toll on the high school and middle school populations in particular. And so I wanted to give you some numbers. As of the end of the day today, for this week only, we have 6 new cases at the high school, 12 cases at David E. Owens, 1 home test awaiting a lab result, 1 at Gibbs, none at Berkeley. That's this week. But in all of the COVID-related positives, plus waiting for test results, plus waiting for time out for quarantine, we are looking at 185 students total who are remote because of contacts or because they tested positive themselves, and 2 preschool classrooms shut down. I'm anticipating, because of the upcoming holiday, that the spread will probably get worse before it gets better. I'm happy to report that we did have 70 5 through 11-year-olds receive their first round of vaccinations at the middle school library last Thursday. And yes, understand that in the schools we do encourage vaccinations, especially flu and COVID, because we all work in very close quarters and we don't want students missing school for viruses, especially COVID. So yes, we do encourage vaccinations for the children and for the adults. And when decisions need to be made about sending students home or excluding students from any activities, we follow the guidance. And yes, vaccinations do play a role in who gets to quarantine and who has to quarantine and who doesn't, and who has to be excluded from things and who gets to participate. We don't make the rules, we follow them. In unique cases, we will consult with health professionals, but for most of the time, we know exactly what to do. We're a well-oiled machine and we follow the guidance. But as an administrative team, we really are struggling with some parents and community members who do not seem to understand that we have protocols to follow, and that we do consult with professionals. In particular, HARP, which is the Health Awareness Regional Program through Hackensack University Medical Center, and they have public health nurses who specialize in providing guidance to us. We also communicate with the Mid-Bergen Regional Health Commission and the health officer there who oversees 14 or 15 towns. And I maintain contact with Bergen County educational offices. Yes, it's important to know that none of these entities shut down our schools. I have to be the one to make the call based on the guidance, and they will say, we advise that you shut down. And you say, will you put that in writing? And they say, no, that's the guidance. We advise that because of X, Y, or Z, you shut down. And then I start making phone calls to other professionals or other health agencies. I cross my T's and I dot my I's. Please make no mistake, okay? We are in the business of educating children and keeping them in school. I have no desire to shut down school and send students home. However, this health pandemic is not simply over because we're tired of it. Okay, we're living it. And it's not a political game. And we're not, playing to instill fear in the children. We're not trying to indoctrinate them or plant microchips in their bodies. We're not lying. We're not exaggerating when we make calls and we quarantine. And these are all things that we've been accused of in the past week. Please keep your symptomatic children home and get them tested for COVID. One symptom, please keep them home. If your child is sneezing excessively, keep them home. Get them tested. And report those symptoms to your school nurse. I cannot even begin to tell you how many students in the past 2 days have been sent home because they were symptomatic when they were here. And then subsequently tested positive for COVID. As far as virtual learning goes, the state of New Jersey does not allow for a remote option by the parents or by the students by choice the way it did last year. It's not allowed. If your child is exposed to COVID outside of school, they cannot simply just switch to remote instruction. It doesn't work that way. These are the guidelines. We are not making this decision. We're following the guidelines. Now, if your child has a positive COVID test result, they can switch to remote, and if you have a conversation with your nurse, that is what will happen. If they're waiting for a COVID PCR exam, you can speak to the nurse, they can switch to remote, and they will see that that happens. If they're put on quarantine by us, we put them on quarantine because of a close contact, they may engage in remote learning, okay? But because your child is sick, and we told you to keep them home, I understand it may not seem to make sense, but if your child is not going for a PCR and waiting for the results, they cannot switch to remote. Those are the rules. I did not make them. We follow them, okay? All of this is in our plan. The most recent update we're asking you to approve tonight, it will be on the website. We highlight the changes. New Jersey came out with updated changes last Thursday. So those have been integrated into the new system, into the new plan. And it speaks to how many days you can be out before you can test and before you can come back and the changes there. If you would like to have any COVID questions answered by our team, please remember that we are all working very hard. These nurses, administrators, secretaries are all working well outside of their normal hours on weekends through the Thanksgiving holiday and likely now through the Christmas holiday to ensure the safety and well-being of the students through excessive contact tracing. We will do our very best to answer all of your questions, and we appreciate your patience when we cannot tell you the details you may be looking for. How come such and such got to do this, but my child did not get to do this? I cannot answer that without necessarily revealing information about that child to you. So you just have to understand that if a certain student is doing something and your child can't do something, that there's obviously a reason for that, and I cannot necessarily share it with you. That does not mean that we're being evasive. It does not mean that we are lying. But our nurses, in particular, if nothing else, deserve your appreciation for doing this very difficult job during a very crazy time that nobody signed up for, okay? And a little bit of kindness goes a long way, and harassing emails to our nurses will not receive a response. It's the holiday season. Let's try to be kind. Regarding the social media issues last week, Thursday and Friday, on top of COVID and a closed high school, Thursday and Friday were consumed with the social media threat to the schools that was apparently going to hit on December 17th. I learned about this threat on Thursday morning. Some parents have expressed tremendous disappointment and frustration with me over my decision not to send a district-wide communication last Thursday when I first heard about the threat. This was a baseless, unsubstantiated, non-specific, anonymous, non-credible, swatting type rumor circulating on TikTok. I would like to explain to you why I made this decision. The superintendents received a notification from the New Jersey Department of Education and the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness about this rumor. The notification explicitly stated it was a non-credible, non-specific rumor that did not constitute a threat and did not even reference New Jersey. And other intelligence agencies were involved in this investigation as well. The notification suggested that we inform our schools, meaning our teachers and administrators, so that they knew that this was going on in the event students reported anything to them. And after speaking with New Milford law enforcement, they too said, we are not making a statement. We do not recommend a statement. So everybody was saying, do not make a statement. I spoke with multiple law enforcement officials on Thursday and Friday, none of whom believed it was appropriate, considering the situation, to send a district-wide notice. And I understand that it's my call to go against them, okay? But superintendents do not and should not work in isolation. Communities do not work in isolation. And I would think that the community and the parents of the school children would want our district, our school district, to have a partnership with the police department and value it and trust it. And that's how we operate here. The New Milford Police Department is stationed in all of our school buildings, and it provides tremendous resources for our schools. And when it comes to the safety and the security of the buildings, I'm the lead educator, caregiver, and protector of the students and the staff. But I don't go rogue. And some superintendents went out on their own and sent messages. Now, I am not undermining their decisions. I have no idea what their local police departments said to them, or what might have been happening in their individual districts and or levels of threat that may have presented itself in another district that was not our district. But the entire Bergen County Supers Association received an email later on in the day that said, if you're going to go rogue and go against these messages that we say, why don't you let us know that you're going to do that? Because we're supposed to be following the guidelines and you're not helping the situation. Okay? I don't want to be in those shoes. And while I recognize that some or even many people might have been reassured by a note from me, there are drawbacks to widespread communication on this type of a non-threat. First, a widespread notification could be perceived by some as lending credence to something that was deemed by authorities to not be credible. Second, while a notice is reassuring for many, for others, particularly our many students who are prone to anxiety, a notice could have the opposite effect and exacerbate those feelings. But most importantly, a notification about an anonymous and baseless rumor sets a potential expectation that in the future, districts, this one in particular, will address all discredited and non-specific, non-credible rumors that circulate on social media. And those repeated communications could become unmanageable, and it could reduce the attention that we should be paying to a serious and credible threat. I mean, today when you get a notice that says we have 2 new positive COVID cases, it's like, yeah, we just got another one. And tomorrow it's another one, yeah, just another one. If we sent out notices like that about security issues, it could be like the boy who cried wolf, and we don't want to do that. So please know that we treat every rumor or threat on a case-by-case basis and very seriously, with the unwavering commitment to keep our kids safe. And if we believe there is a need to communicate with a concern to parents, like I did a few weeks ago when we had a lockdown and there was a thing going on in town, I did that immediately and I did not hesitate. I thought it was important to address those 2 things tonight because those things have been probably the 2 things that have been consuming the last 5 or 6 days. I also have had many people ask, are you going to shut down the rest of the district? Like I said, numbers alone don't make us shut down. It's where those numbers are, what those cases have as far as interaction between each other. Are they connected? Are they disconnected? Is it isolated? Can we isolate a classroom if we can? Can we isolate a team if we can? And so we respond appropriately. I certainly have no intention of shutting down school, and my only intention is to keep everyone safe and healthy. Okay, so goodbyes, and thank you, and best wishes. So to Tammy Kaminsky and Laura O'Grady and Joe Steele, this is your last board meeting, and I just wanted to tell you how much I personally appreciate each of you. And I don't think some people really understand the selfless commitment it takes to be a great board member. The incredible burden of responsibility, the dedication of your time that you have on your shoulders, to be good stewards of finance and policy in particular that advances opportunities for the children of New Milford. I'll miss you all tremendously. I hope we still see you. I hope you still remain involved. And on behalf of the district and our team, I wish you the very, very best of health and happiness in the new year, and thank you. Finally, I would like to wish all of our New Milford families peace, happiness, and good health this holiday season, and for those of you who celebrate, Merry Christmas and a very happy new year. And when we return in January, we will be swearing in our new board members, and I'm very much looking forward to a healthy 2022. Okay, I have some announcements for Mr. Riccardelli, who would like to share with you the fall all-league winners. So in football, first team all-league, we have Robbie Tormo, Sean Mastro Piero, James Spates, and Andrew Medina. Second team all-league, Frankie Brescia, Giovanni Nicodeme, Daci, I'm just going to turn this over to you. Daci Aragvelli, David Martinez. An honorable mention all-league, Chris Batista and Alex Sidoric. Okay. Go ahead, thank you. Boys soccer, first team, John Paul Bektis. Honorable mention, Josh Sperlin and Armand Kiani. Girls soccer, first team, Jordan Becker, Second team, Mia Bianchi. And honorable mention, Mary Sariani. Girls tennis. First team, Hannah Rostkowski. Second team, Michelle Joe, Michaela Sterling, Maya Matthew, and honorable mention to Corinthia Godfrey. Volleyball. First team, Lindsay Davis. Second team, Emma Conforti. Honorable mention, Vanessa Castronovo. Cross country. Second team, Jaden Cedeno. Honorable mention, Asia Ildiz. Brendan Ryan. And congrats to the Cutter Classic Wrestling Champs, Sutter Tataro and Devin Ryan. Okay, and I'm sorry it took so long. Thank you. That is the end of my report.
Please don't apologize. All important information. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Danielle? Okay. In that case, that brings us to Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction Report, Lauren Odoxta.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to briefly talk about, I believe it's P96 on the agenda, our learning acceleration leaders. So as previously shared by Superintendent Family, the Accelerated Learning Coaching and Educator Support Grant under ARC-ESSER was designed for districts to provide evidence-based professional learning and coaching opportunities to school staff. Tonight, we are seeking the approval of our K-8 Learning Acceleration Leaders, who will focus their efforts on improving equitable access to grade-level content and high-quality resources for students, prioritizing content and learning by focusing on the depth of instruction rather than the pace, and supporting accelerated learning cycles to identify gaps and scaffold as needed. The Learning Acceleration Leaders will report to their building principals and work with me as well. They'll facilitate department and grade level team meetings, provide leadership in the implementation of instructional programs and acquisition of curricular materials and/or resources, make recommendations for budgetary considerations, and assist in the development of curricula and revisions that we do on existing curriculum. When I say department and grade level team meetings, as you can see, our elementary LALs are grade level representatives, and there is a leader for the related arts team in each of our elementary schools. And at the middle school, our learning acceleration leaders are content specific. That is something that we do not have at the middle school level. So when thinking about curriculum and program, that would be really nice for us to look through that lens as we move forward. That was a brief report tonight, so I'd just like to wish you peace, happiness, and health, and wish you all the best. Happy holidays. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lauren.
Business Administrator Report, Stephanie Pichar.
Good evening, everyone. Very briefly tonight, I just wanted to take the time to thank Geraldine for her contributions to the board office, and especially this week, she's been helping train Faith, who was hired 2 months ago. She fulfilled her 60 days requirement with her prior district, so she started with us on Monday, and she's been really helping in a seamless transition. As I've previously reported, all administrators were asked to consider what it takes to run each of their respective buildings and/or programs. All requests are due into my office along with the superintendent this Thursday in preparation of the budget. And then just to remind the board that the budget software is CSI, and this year in particular, we took out what was previously budgeted for the entire district, and we really started from nothing. Which is zero-based budgeting. So this is how we're going to prepare our 22-23 budget. And finally, This week, we're finalizing the plans for the board office vestibule this week, so we're ready to bid the project in January with a potential start right after graduation in June, so that the office and the vestibule is ready for the beginning of school in September of 2022. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from the board members? Thank you. I seek a motion for BA 25, BA 26, BA 27, BA 28, and BA 29. May I get a second? Seconded by Anthony Albro.
Question.
I have a question. I think the question is for Stephanie. Hetty Grant's proposal to us for the historical landmark. There is a cost involved. Do we have this money? Where is it coming from? Sorry to put you on the spot like that, and you're typing. But I know that's on
And then I'll
everyone's
tell you
mind.
the answer. Well, the,
Basically.
can I just add this to the initial application piece is a few $100s. And what it's going to take us to get to the point where we actually have a plaque may go on beyond July 1st.
Take a while.
So it could be something that we absorb the cost, the nominal cost of the application in this year's budget and plan for the remainder, let's say $2,500 in the next year's budget, potentially. That's what I was thinking when I was thinking about the $3,000 and how we would make that work. I didn't
Okay.
have that conversation with Stephanie. I just felt badly that she was being put on the spot.
That's okay.
Without my having shared that piece.
I appreciate that. I also think that we budget for conferences that were virtual this year, so we do have board money that would typically be utilized by board members. In our budget, not much, but enough to absorb a cost of a few $100s. And then we could plan to budget for this in the next year.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there other questions or comments?
So my question is, it's a little bit of a statement and a question. So the statement is that I'm not against this. So I just want to make sure that that's clear.
No.
However, I don't really know too much about this process, and if all it is just getting landmark status and putting a sign up, then I'm fine with that. But I don't know what else that means. What does that mean for the space on the property? Do we have to do something different with that? Safety-wise, you don't want to just have the sign out there where the children might be running around, because I don't know where it would be. So there's just some questions that are in my mind, but I haven't really had a chance to digest everything yet. So I ask that we table this for January, not because I don't want to do it, but because I want to make sure it's done right. And I don't, so that's my request. Again, I know that Ms. Grant wants to get that started, and I totally understand that, but I would like to just take a few more weeks to make sure that if we've all read through this, that we're okay with whatever it is. So.
Okay. I'm okay with taking a consensus to table it, and then let's everyone ask questions to, I suppose, Ms. Shanley? And,
Okay.
or me or Ms. Shanley, and then
Ms. Grant did say she'd be willing to come back
as well.
if we wanted to have a follow-up, but
Yeah.
you can funnel questions to me and I can funnel them to
And then I'll
her.
put it on the agenda for
Yeah,
the next.
yeah.
She did mention a tree, that there is a tree in this area, and that's where they were thinking of putting the,
Yeah.
So if you think of Gibbs, between the building and the
I know where-
baseball field, there's that tree in the.
I know where the spot
Yeah.
is. It's right behind the third grade classroom.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, but
So
that's my
what she was
thought.
thinking.
is
But
that,
yeah, no, these
you
are
know,
all good questions,
what is
so
it?
let's get.
And I'm not saying it would stop me, but again, I just, I would like to ask those questions, read through it a little bit.
Thinking of
and
safety
if we
issues and all
can-
kinds of
Right, if
things.
we can send our questions to you both, and then you kind of compile them and maybe either follow up with her and she can come back and answer then, or they're easy enough to just answer,
okay,
you can answer for her from that, that's fine with me, and then,
okay.
anyway, that's my,
So-
I don't know if I have to make it officially requested, but I would like to table it.
Okay, let's take a consensus. Okay, I've never done a consensus before. All in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will table it. And let's get questions and put it on the next agenda.
I would have given you the information sooner. Ms. Grant was hoping to present it in the surprised type of a thing.
And look at that.
I know, I saw your face.
I'm okay with that, I'm totally fine.
So I would have given you
My
the
first
stuff.
thought was,
Right.
wow, okay, what did I miss? How did I not see
Right,
that?
right. Yeah, and she wanted it to be a surprise.
She's very
She's
excited.
very
There's
excited
a
about
lot
the surprise.
There's a lot of history buffs and who have been very eager to find out exactly where it
It's
is.
very thorough, and
Yeah,
like I
so-
said, I have been following that that's something she'd like to do, but I just,
Yeah.
thank
No,
you.
there's a lot of things to consider, you're absolutely
Yep.
right. One positive on it, though, would be the education.
Absolutely.
What a great opportunity to
And
have it on
that
school
also
property.
is something we could, maybe add to it and discuss, and is there something that can be,
Mhm.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for that, Paige. Okay. Educational programs and curriculum, Laura O'Grady. Oh, wait,
We
wait,
have
no,
to
wait,
vote.
stop.
We have to vote.
After all that. Okay, so we got our motions and our seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Educational programs and curriculum, Laura O'Grady.
I seek approval for C20, C21, C22, C23, C24, and C25.
Heather, second?
Motion by Heather Gomez. Second?
That was her-
second by-
that was the motion.
Oh, sorry, seconded by Heather Gomez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0.
If I can make a comment, I'm just glad to see all of the field trips.
Yes. So exciting. So good for the kids. Personnel recommendations. Having the recommendation of the superintendent, I make a motion to approve P73, P74, P83, P84, P85, P86, P87, P88, P89, P90, P91, P92, P93, P94, P95, P96. Can I get a second? Second by Joseph Steele. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
We have to vote.
Sorry, yes, roll call, please.
Mr. Alborough?
Yes.
Ms. Dunn?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Ms. Coffinger?
Yes.
Ms. O'Grady?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Vice President Gomez?
Yes.
President Andrews?
Yes. All right, Finance Committee, until next week, we are actually sans is that Finance Committee?
Yes.
Yeah, we're sans a chair. So, can someone's Paige, are you on the Finance Committee? Thank you.
Seek a motion to, or I make a motion to approve F102, F103, F104, F105, F106, F107, F108, F109, and F10, F110, I'm sorry, F111, F112, F113, F114, F115 with a thank you, F116, and the added F117.
Yes, Anthony.
I just have a question about, I guess it's for Dr. Bouchard, F-111. We're in December and we're approving for July. Are we getting a good deal or something, I'm hoping, or?
This is our consortium of insurance, and so every 3 years, we have to approve it because of the rates, and so it goes on the calendar year. So they asked the boards to pass the resolution, but this is we've been a member of this for, I don't know.
Long time.
The beginning, yeah. So that's why we're seeking the approval now.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Can we get a second, please? Seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Facilities Committee. I make a motion to approve FA10, FA11, FA12. Can I get a second, please? Seconded by Laura O'Grady. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Policy Committee, oh, Joe, get ready. There's a lot. Joseph,
Here
This
we
is
go.
your big,
If you need to tag me,
It'll
Joe,
still
you
be on the
tag
board
me.
when it's done.
this is your swan song,
Okay, I
Joe.
seek approval for P7250, P6115.01, P6115.02, P 6115.03, P 6311, P 1648.11, P 0164.6, P 1620, R 2411.1, P 2451, P 2464, P 5330.05, R 5330.05, P 6440, P 6470.01. Like, I'll get you for this, Danielle. R 6470.01, P 7440, R 7440, P 7450, P 7510, R 7510, P 8420, P 8561, P 0152, P 1581, R 1581, P 2422, P 3421.13, P 4421.13, 5330, P 5330, R 5330, P 7243, P 8210, P 8220, R 8220, P 2270, P 2431.3, P 5200, R 5200, P 5320, R 5320, P 5330.04, R 5330.04, P 5610, R 5610, P 5620, P 8320, R 8320, P 8462, P 2431, P 2428.1, P 2250, P 2350, 2530, new glasses, R 2530, P 2200, R 2200, P 9130, R 9130, P 3282, P 4282, P 5350, R 5350, P 5530, R 5530, P 5512, P 5756. P 5519, R 5519, P 7523, P 7522, P 2360, P 2361, P 3321, P 4321, P 3283, P 4283.
Pass my water down there, please.
Are there any questions or comments?
First one who says repeat that is dead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, on that,
No,
can I make a comment?
I do have a
Yes.
comment.
I would just like to thank the policy committee for this hard work. We met together many, many times, late nights, lots of coffee, and it was important work, and I thank you for squeaking it all in. And in January, we start fresh.
Great.
Do you really have a comment, or were you teasing Joe? Okay, Chair recognizes Mrs. Ryan.
Thank you very much. Okay, so in the, it's way up here, but it's the postnatal accommodations. It actually, it's, because I was looking at it and I thought I must have skipped over it when I first read it.
Which number?
So.
3421.
3421 and 4421.
Uh-huh.
So when I read through it, one is for teaching staff, one's for support staff. Is there any way we differentiate those other than that? Because unless you read it.
No, because you have the 3,000s designate one group and the 4,000s designate another group. So they do that on purpose. You'll see that for other things too. It could be like dress code is one number for support staff, it's the same policy.
I don't think I've ever really absorbed that they had their own. I know
Their own
GL
numbers.
counts have their own
Yeah.
numbers.
And bylaws have their own, and
Yeah.
students are 5,000s, and
Okay.
Mhm.
So I just, for anybody
Mhm.
other than Joe who has to read through this, that's just something to keep in mind,
Yeah.
that sometimes it's gonna look that way.
it'll look like a
especially now.
repeat, but it's a different group we're
Yep.
targeting with
Yep.
the information.
Yep, that's it.
And then sometimes they are slightly different, depending upon, you could have,
Well, that's
because
why they have them.
that's why they have it. That's why they designate it, because you have different associations, different labor contracts, different all sorts of things.
Chair recognizes Jeff.
School boards will audit this for you if you want.
Yes, yes. I'm aware that they provide that service, and Strauss Esme, whom we pay, provides that service. I could get it
Oh,
from either
okay.
place. And I think it's important to, as a newer superintendent here, to go through them like one group at a time. Like the 5,000s is where I think I would like to start, because those are student policies. Also helps me learn the language of all of our policies. There's no better way to really learn the rules than by sitting and reading them and aligning them.
All right, so can we get a second, please? Second by Tammy Kaminsky. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Athletic co-curricular, Nicole Dunn.
I seek approval for AC6, and I only have 4. AC7, AC8, and AC9.
I have a question. The flag football grant from New York Jets. This is very exciting.
Yes,
Can you tell us, though, a little bit about what
yeah.
it entails?
I hope I can do it some justice.
Okay.
I know that it is something we applied for, and that we were part of the original conversations with the Jets for how to get this to happen here. This is an all-girl high school flag football grant, and the money. And we were fortunate that we were selected, and we're one of the first teams to be selected. And the money goes towards. And Nicole asked me. And it was a good question, because then I had to dig a little bit deeper. What exactly do you do with the money? So we've got coaches to pay, transportation, officials, and then equipment. The uniforms have already been designed and I believe are being donated. That is not part of the money, and apparently they're very cool.
Okay. That must have been from a
That's-
student. Very cool.
No, Mr. Riccardelli told me they were very cool. So I hope the students agree with him, because girls.
Because he's not a girl.
Because he's not a girl. So we're really excited to be part of that. And
So there is going to be a girls' flag football.
yes,
Is this starting?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I will find out if it's an in-season flag football thing, like football season, or does it happen at another time? I'm not sure. I didn't ask this season. My apologies.
That's okay. And did you? Well,
Do you know?
It was in the grant, I believe it's spring.
spring season.
And it doesn't
Does it say that?
interfere-
And I missed it? I'm sorry.
And it doesn't interfere with the,
Spring girls.
Correct.
Okay, so it's like an
it's
off,
separate than
like a
the
spring 2, a spring
J.
3 kind of thing?
Because spring.
Yes, different than softball or track.
Oh, so
They can
girls who play
participate
one sport
in-
can also play this.
Correct.
Okay. And this is grades 9 through 12?
12.
Okay. Thank you.
Nicole wants to play.
Nicole wants to play?
I'm sorry, you graduated high school. Are there any other questions or comments? Can we get a second, please? Seconded by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Okay. We have liaison board committee reports. I know there was a big meeting last night. Joe, what do you have for us?
Yes, I did attend the meeting. Couple of things. Number one, the Department of Education is mulling over ideas to create a quicker yet just as qualified path for teachers to get certification, for nurses to get certification, and especially those areas, math, science, special education, where they really, really need teachers. One of the things that the state was talking about yesterday was allowing out-of-state people to come back into Jersey. Now, over the last 10 years, we've lost a lot of people from New Jersey into Pennsylvania, into New York. It started with the superintendents, but they're working on this. So, and they're forcing people. The other thing is to allow retirees to come back into the classroom without it affecting their pensions. So that's a biggie, and that will give you a pool of teachers. Teaching for 40 years, I don't know if I would take them up on it, but, it's still a pool that has been pretty much untapped. There's a big need for bus drivers, and that's another thing, making the CDL license a little better, because right now they have to have a mechanical portion. It's not just how to drive a bus, and you're dealing with that. Okay. For those of you who have seen or spoken to or met Dan Sinclair, he was a past president of school boards. He is now retired from school boards. He did his last meeting last night, but he still will come and speak to us about the non-college bound learner. And you've heard me speak about that many times. Schools that repurpose their shop and home ec rooms for bringing back their autistic students, bringing in their more special needs students, which is great. But at the end of the day, the special needs students and the rest of our population, not everybody goes to college. And we need to teach the trades. There is a tremendous shortage of the trades: plumbers, electricians, carpenters. You can name almost any, hands-on type occupation. Beckton High School down in Carlsbad, East Rutherford, is putting in a brand new vocational, because they take about 4 kids from a district to Bergen. And we have a lot more kids than 4 who want to go. So this will provide opportunities for them. We're talking cosmetology, talking mechanics. We're talking bringing in certified people, not just people who's a mechanic on the corner or someone who does minor stuff. You can get certificated in all of these professions. So we would have that, and that might be in lieu of a teaching certificate. They would still have to take some professional development, I'm sure. But it's needed, and I've spoken to Danielle about it. This is something I think New Milford could benefit, because you then can have sending districts. And any costs that we accrue, such as the Interbridge Crossing, when we did that all in-house, the program could almost pay for itself. And it's something to think about for the future, because that's the way a lot of schools are going. Okay. They were talking about career days. Now everybody's done career days. But some high schools are specifically targeting juniors, because you have no more an undecided group of what am I going to do than juniors. This helps them with their path, which way they're going to go, whether it's college, junior college, if that's still a term, military, vocational school, and it gives them the options. But they're targeting the juniors, not the seniors. Seniors, they feel it's too late. And also, I don't know if you noticed in the news, Yale and a lot of other schools have dropped the ACT and the SAT as a requirement. They're using portfolios and interviews now. I think that's a good thing for the students as well, not being a test taker, I can tell you. One of the things, again, with the non-college bound learner is Bergen County Community College has a lot of nursing, home health care type courses. We could easily merge with a program like that. Okay, let me see what else. So as I said, Dan Sinclair will come to the meeting and actually talk to you. He's very available. Something else here. Oh, it's on the phone, excuse me. Okay, the non-funded mandate portion of the budget was dropped today, which is a good thing, because we have enough underfunded or unfunded mandates. So that was taken out. Let's see, COVID cases, we already went over that. Some districts give big pay raises now to substitute teachers. I got a call from a buddy of mine. He said, could I give him a letter of recommendation? Because I taught with him for about 15 years. I said, for what? He said, Dover is paying $200 a day for subs. Now, it's nice money. I'm not schlepping out to Dover, but that's what's going to happen because New Milford, I think, is in good shape with subs. We're not? Oh, we're not in good shape with subs. Okay, I
I
thought
don't
we.
think anyone is at this time.
So,
I think COVID really has
Okay.
impacted people's willingness to go into schools daily.
yeah. Is it still 60 credits to become a sub? 60 college credits, which is, 2 years. And, okay. Let's see if we got everything here. Okay, a lot of things we're talking about, schools switching to virtual. And, again, that's about it.
Can I ask?
I'm talked out.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Ryan. Thank you.
So Joe,
Your
I do have a
meetings will now
question.
be 20 minutes shorter.
I have a question for you. You just mentioned right at the end, you said the unfunded mandate has been dropped from the budget.
What does that
What does
mean?
that mean?
That means that there was a section in there for unfunded mandates, in other words, to approve, that they could say to us, well, everybody's got to wear school uniforms starting tomorrow, but we're not going to give you the money for it. So
For any sort of mandate.
it's,
For any minute.
So is
there
this
have been a lot of things, the HIB, they originally didn't give a lot of money for that. Drug programs and alcohol programs, they gave some seed money, but the rest was up to the districts 20 years ago when they started it. So, 40
So-
years ago when they started.
So that, and that's what I'm asking, is that regarding the email that we got from school boards about the Senate Budget and Appropriations Committee legislation? Is that what we're talking about,
I think so.
S4248 and 86217?
I don't have the numbers in my head.
I'm just looking at the email that they sent.
Yeah.
So, because it's saying, to contact, and what it looked like they were saying is that they advanced the legislation last Monday and they were scheduled for a vote yesterday. So that's
Yeah,
what we're saying, is that it
they
got
took
voted
it
down.
out. There was
Or
a
they
lot of
took it out?
compromising.
Okay.
One of the things was when they changed the testing.
Mm-hmm.
And it cost a lot for testing. It's not a cheap
Yes.
proposition. And, these are the mandates. I was on a committee for years
Yeah.
about, S4 and S2 and all these different laws that cut funding. So,
Yeah. So on this one was specifically aimed at healthcare benefits and costs.
yeah, that was
That they
one of
are-
them, yeah.
That they were trying to say that it was not unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
Because what they did when they changed it to chapter 44, the district said we didn't have an option with that change, and that there are many districts that have actually, their costs have actually risen significantly. That there wasn't a savings as it was originally anticipated. So my question would be, since this came out, is this something that we're aware of, the impact of chapter 44 on our district?
Yes,
Okay.
there's a report that we're required to fill out after every open enrollment period, and it's due 30 days after the initial open enrollment period,
Okay.
for chapter 44 specifically. So we won't know the cost of the employees who've changed from, if there's been an election of change from 78 to 44, it would be, just happened in October, and it'll be effective in January. And so when we get those rates, and as you all know, is that it runs on the calendar year, not the fiscal year. So we'll know in January, after we're made aware of the election changes, what the cost burden or savings would be.
Chair recognizes Mr.
Yeah, there's
Steele.
one other thing, there has been discussion at the state level, this pops up every year or so, about delayed openings, about having the kids come in maybe an hour later. They say there are studies that show that they learn more. The big problem is the NJSIAA, because this would affect sports. If kids are going from 9 to 4:30 or 4 o'clock, what does it do for sports? So this is a big issue, and stay tuned for that one. But they've been talking about this forever. So,
That's true. Okay, thank you, Joe.
yep.
Any other questions or comments for Joe?
Thank you very much.
Take your
Thank you,
chance
Joe.
now.
Are
For
there,
everything.
are there any other board liaison reports? I don't want to put you on the spot. Councilman Seymour, do you have anything for us?
I do, and thank you. First and foremost, the governing body thanks Ms. O'Grady, Mr. Steele, and Ms. Kaminsky for your years of service and dedication to the district. Each of you leaves an imprint upon our district, which makes our schools better for our children. And each of you will be missed. Thank you. Thank you for your service. There are no scheduled updates, however. On the 29th of December, Captain Jones will be retiring after several decades of service to New Milford on the police department. And on December 30th, Mayor Petrino will be swearing in 3 new additional police officers. And Lieutenant Kevin Van Saters will be promoted from lieutenant to the rank of captain. We wish all of you a happy holiday and a wonderful new year. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you in the new year.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Are there any other board liaison reports? Additional board items. I think this is where I would like to say something. I received an email from Mr. James Gaffney. He sent this out to all of the boards in Bergen County.
And James is.
Oh, I'm sorry, he is the Bergen County, as if everyone knows, the Bergen County School Boards Association president. I apologize. He had quite a bit of updates and important information in his email, but I would like, I just lost where it was now because I had to scroll for his thing. Here we go. I would like to read one part of the email that he included. And so again, he's the president of the Bergen County School Boards Association. And he said, on a personal note, I would like to say thank you and goodbye to Joe Steele. Joe will be leaving his board, New Milford, in January. Joe is serving as the alternate to the NJSBA Board of Directors. Previously was a VP on the executive committee and also served 2 terms on the executive committee. Joe worked closely with me in forming the partnership between the BCSBA, Bergen County Superintendents Association, and the Bergen County Business Administration Association. He always brought new and creative ideas to the table when the 3 associations would meet together. He also was the person behind getting many of our guest speakers to present at our BCSBA meetings, making sure they represented what was in the best interest of the Bergen County schools. Finally, any of us who know Joe are going to miss his sense of humor, which always helped us keep things in perspective and a smile on our faces. I wish Joe nothing but health and happiness as he begins a new chapter in his life. Sorry, I was having trouble reading that. I'm holding back tears. I said this before, Joe, when I came on the board. There were quite a few wonderful people on this board who took me under their wing, but you really shared your knowledge, your wisdom, and gave so much to this board, and you will sincerely be missed. And that is the same for Mrs. O'Grady and Mrs. Kaminsky. And I don't want to say more because I'm going to tear up, but I just wanted to share what Mr. James Gaffney stated and let you all know that you will be missed. And the person who is going to be our new liaison is going to have some big shoes to fill. But I look forward to working with the new ones as well. But tonight is the night to say goodbye to all of you, and thank you so much for everything you've done.
Can I just add to that?
Yes?
I just want to thank first Joe and Maura for your service. You've been with the board for a very long time. You've contributed many years and hours, and you guys are assets. And Tammy, it's been short but sweet, but hopefully, I'm sure we'll see you again.
She said.
It was fun though.
Yes. But thank you, because, it's a loss, so we appreciate everything you've done for the board, all of you.
Chair recognizes Anthony Albro
I
and
just want to
Joe.
reiterate, Tammy, we're a 9-person board, and you made us whole. And being a person who was appointed by the board at some point, I was appointed in June and then had to run again, and you knew the risk of running, but you knew you wanted to serve, and I appreciate the fact that you did that. Mrs. O'Grady, being an administrator in another district and being an educator and being a resident, I always marvel at what my daughter's home district does educationally. And I realize that administrators and teachers sort of generate the ideas, but when it comes to the school board, it has to have the backing of the committee chairperson. And you've been a fantastic committee chairperson. I've served on your committee. And moving forward, I believe we're at a certain level now because of your dedication. And I thank you very much for that. Mr. Steele, it's been said tonight about what you've done for the Board of Education, but here's what I walk away with, and I don't mean to embarrass you. COVID was a hell of a thing. But you personally endured a great deal of medical, physical issues this year. Sometimes when I think I don't want to go to the meeting because I'm too tired, I just think of you. And I think of the way you bounce back, the way your speech has improved, the way you move in and out of this building now, and where you were at some point. You inspired me sometimes to be here as well. And you always say, I'm retired and I have all this time. Well, quite honestly, you do more than some employee could do. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Joe?
I just wanted to say, I was reminded by somebody on school boards the other day, we got to pick 6 people to replace you. And I'm like, it's not my problem. But I just, even though I did quite a bit, kept myself active, got me out of the house. I didn't want to overshadow the 2 young ladies over there. As Heather said, Tammy, it was a short time, but it was a quality short time, and it was a privilege to run for, the board with you. Laura, what can I say? You're still teaching. I don't know if I'm happy for you or sad for you. It's tough times. 6 years ago, I retired, and it could have been at a better time. And I applaud you to sticking it out as a teacher and as a friend, and you were great on the committees we served on together. So ladies, I'll miss you, and everybody else here I will miss, except that one day that Paige told me you're on negotiations now because you're not conflicted. So I learned a lot. It was difficult. I've been on the opposite side of the table, negotiations, and so I welcome the opportunity, but I enjoyed my 12 years, and who knows what the future holds. So, thank you all.
Thank you very much, Joe. Are there any, yes, Paige?
I didn't want to interrupt.
No.
Tony had it well written and well said, so everything he said. And also, thank you to Joe. You are the one person that is here that was here before I got here. You've had your 12 years, I've had my 11 and a half years.
Yeah.
But when I got on the board, there were a lot more people who had some experience, and it has, it's changed a lot. But what hasn't changed and what never changed was your focus on what was good for the district. And, you didn't always agree with people, but in the end, you tried to listen and then came to a consensus or helped people build consensus. So for that, I am very grateful. I feel like every person you come in contact with can leave an impression on you and help make you a better person, either by their actions or by you wanting to emulate them or by you wanting to not emulate them. And you have always been a positive for me. So I want to say thank you for that. And Laura, we know each other outside of here, but here on the board, you have always asked questions, you always participated, you always, again, cared for the children. And I don't think people realize your involvement with students with special needs and your interest in that especially. And so for all of that and for everything else, I thank you as well, because you too came out to be appointed and didn't get appointed and decided to run anyway. Whenever you're not appointed, it's always said, you know, we please hope you stay involved and maybe run again. And you didn't get appointed and you ran anyway, and then you were elected. So again, same as Tammy, you know, you were appointed and you had to make a choice. I'm just gonna do it for a little while, I'm gonna put myself out there. So thank you for doing that as well. Nothing that I say is a slight to anybody else. They're more just thank yous to you specifically. So I just wanted to say that. And I hope that you continue your involvement, just like anyone else. I know it takes a lot, and sometimes you need to take a step back and take a break, but this district is better for your involvement, and I hope that you continue in any way that you can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Additional board items? Old business? New business? Okay. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to open to the public as outlined in New Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes. Can I get a second, please? Seconded by Heather Gomez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? I think the woman in the red was first and the woman in the white is second. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Carrie Bandini, 456 James Street. I just want to preface this before I begin by saying that I have 3 children in the district, 2 at the elementary school level and 1 at the preschool level. And through the years, we've had many wonderful interactions with teachers, aides, and administration. With that being said, I am disappointed about a situation that's happening at the pre-K level at DEO. My youngest has an IEP and was supposed to be placed in a separate preschool disabled classroom. However, since last school year, the AM and PM disabled preschool classes have been sharing their classroom with the second over-the-moon class. That's roughly 20, give or take, extra students, aides, and teachers on top of my child's class with their aide and teacher. When finding this out, I did reach out to administration. I was assured that, and I quote, the classes were sharing, but not sharing the classroom. The teachers are doing a great job juggling the situation and having to share a smartboard. The kids are having great experiences out in the DEO cafeteria for snack or up on stage behind the curtains, end quote. But honestly, the district, to me, can talk it up all they want, but I fully believe that these teachers and aides had no choice. I believe they knew better, and they knew it wasn't in an ideal environment for learning, so of course they did a wonderful job because that's what great teachers do. They knew the best learning couldn't be done when you have a full day over-the-moon class with IEP students that come in the AM and PM, and on top of the AM and PM disabled classes. That's a lot of bodies shuffling around. With all the COVID restrictions, I'm surprised that this was allowed to happen. This year, several of the preschool classes had to quarantine before Thanksgiving, and I believe again starting today. We also had several cases of lice. One family spent over $600 because it spread within their household. I think I'm more upset that the district didn't directly lie, but in my eyes, I believe they lied through omission. So as a parent, wouldn't you want to know what's going on in your child's classroom, especially with months of your child coming home trying to tell you about the makeshift classroom set up on the stage behind the curtains, other students and teachers' names, telling you that there's so many kids and too many kids? What if your child was upset at times and you didn't understand what he or she was trying to tell you? We all make mistakes. It's what we do with these mistakes that shows growth. I'm just asking for the district to admit that this was not an ideal situation and to not only apologize for not being transparent with the parents, but to also promise just to do better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The person in the back, please say your name and address.
1100 Rossi Avenue.
I'm sorry, I was speaking. Did you get her name? I did. Okay.
Sheila Kurtz, 1100 Rossi Avenue.
Okay.
I am here to support. I know last week was a very difficult time with COVID. Really here to speak on behalf of the students. my daughter in particular, just having some kind of mental counselor, understanding that this is a difficult time. It's hard to relay it to the students. It's hard to allow the students to understand that this is not going to be forever. When the high school was closed on Tuesday, they inevitably thought it would continue on because of the last time that this has happened. So I was just wondering if we could add potentially a mental counselor to the reopening resources. I know there's a COVID team, I'm not sure where that's located, but as a member of the community, I'm willing to help if that's something that's needed. And also just to give a kudos to the high school nurse, because I know she had a very hectic week. I'm sure she did receive some emails, but I sent a very positive email and an informative email. I didn't hear back from everybody, but I did hear back from her, so I just wanted to mention those two things.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kurt. Are there any other questions or comments from the public? I would like to make a motion to close to the public. Can I get a second? Seconded by Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I-
Okay. Ms. Shanley will address what you would like to address.
Mrs. Bandini, I'm gonna do a little bit of homework and get back to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kurtz, thank you. Lauren, would you be able to speak in general to the mental health supports that we have in the high school, especially for, since COVID and...
Yeah, there's so many resources, and I was actually going to speak with you after the meeting, but I think it's great for everyone to hear. We do have, as you had mentioned, I think you're referring to the pandemic response teams in each of the buildings, and we do have counselors who are members serving on each of those teams, who are on an ongoing basis reviewing different needs that come up that are not just academic, but also behavioral, or behavior in nature, mental health needs. There's additional supports in place for students for social emotional learning. We are, at the high school in particular, extending the Project Bring Back with Care Plus that we had initiated last year with the Title I funding, just to serve as an additional support. We also have resources for parents and families and everybody at home. Students can join those as well. Those are delivered right to wherever you are on a device and are able to connect, made up of a team of professionals. One of them that I do want to mention, an upcoming meeting will be a resource fair where Care Plus is going to be providing families with resources that are available to you, given a host, regardless of what your need may be, kind of like a, I don't know, what do you call that, like a fair?
It's a fair.
I guess, yeah, fair. But I'm sure that we can meet your needs here, so I would like to touch base with you just to hear a little bit more about, your specific needs so that we can align you with that appropriate support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Did you have a question?
I do have a follow-up to that, so.
Okay. Chair, sorry. Chair recognizes Mrs. Ryan.
Thank you. So is it possible to, because I know it was communicated earlier, like all of the supports and everything, and young students don't really get the communication, and high school students, sometimes they might not communicate to their families that these things are, like say, that they know. Can we maybe think of re-communicating based on that like, okay, now we know it's starting to get tough, please don't forget, we have these resources, we have this, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think that, thinking back in March of 2020, that was where looking at maybe, the experience of things that you see online and how others encountered the closure, we really excelled in that area. I think, everybody was ready to kind of roll up their sleeves and pitch in. And a lot of that work is happening outside of the school day, you know, in home visits and phone calls and outreach, different outreach initiatives. So we can certainly circle back to that and get that out.
Absolutely.
That's an excellent point, Mrs. Ryan, that in September, students were happy and excited, so they might have been given the information and
Right.
disregarded it.
And
So
the
it's
things
good
that
to
you've
get
been
it back out
sending
there.
out to the families, you know, it's a hectic time. And from a personal note, things get really crazy and you come to a meeting and you think you didn't read the packet that you got, that you didn't get, but you're so overwhelmed, you don't even know. So I think that maybe just a reminder that says, hey, you know,
Remember,
here's-
this is
don't
here for
forget,
you.
this is here for you, please.
Right.
You know, reach
Tough
out.
time and, right.
I'm glad that was brought up. Okay. Board member requests, did I say board member? See,
Mhm,
again,
we already
hectic
did.
times.
Okay.
Board member requests for additional information. At this time,
You don't have
we are
anything?
going to, and this is an update, yeah. So the board is going to go into closed. It is hereby moved that the Board of Education adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 PL, for the purpose of discussion and consideration of matters pertaining to the following subjects: personnel. The minutes of the executive session will be made available to the public when the need for the confidentiality no longer exists. We are going to go into closed and we will be taking action when we return. So we're going to ask the public, please exit, and if you desire to be here when we come out, do we have an approximate time?
We won't be long.
We won't be long.
10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Can you just make a motion? We need a motion.
Yes, I need a motion to go into close. Motion by Tammy
it's not on there.
Kaminsky, seconded by Stephanie Coffinger. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 9-0, and let's make sure the door is closed, and make sure Dan
We're live. Okay.
Oh, Dan, we're live?
We're live.
Okay, we're
I
live.
do have to say one other thing, which I didn't say before, because you mentioned the concert and DEO and the snowflakes. But I noticed on Twitter, DEO shared a picture of a 3D model of the school that a student created.
It was gorgeous.
It was beautiful. And I'm guessing they did that with the
With the 3D
3D
printer.
printer that was
Yep.
at the middle school
Yep.
that came from the foundation. I think the Ed Foundation's, it was a grant from the Ed Foundation.
Okay, great.
Have they seen
I'll
it?
try to get that picture on the
Yeah.
Facebook page too.
I know.
Let's make
It's-
sure
I
they
just saw
see
it
it.
there
That's
and I was like,
wonderful.
yeah, that is phenomenal. So
Okay.
we
That's amazing.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so back to the agenda. All right, Tam, we're good? Okay. I seek a motion, I make a motion for P97, the approval.
Quick, can I close first?
We already came out
We
of
missed
close.
that, sorry.
Sorry, that's okay, we came out of close. I make a motion for P97, approval of termination for cause of employee 1933. Can I get a second, please? Seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, we need a roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. Albrow,
Yes.
Ms. Dunn,
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky,
Yes.
Ms. Coffinger,
Yes.
Ms. O'Grady,
Yes.
Ms. Ryan,
Yes.
Mr. Steele,
Yes.
Vice President Gomez,
Yes.
President Andrews.
Yes. Motion passes 9-0. And now, I seek a motion to close.
Adjourn.
To adjourn, thank you. Motion by Joseph Steele, seconded by Laura O'Grady. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Meeting adjourned.
Happy holidays,
Good night,
Merry
everyone.
Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.